Yes.
Okay,
I voted no because.
Ryan, just give them like 5 more minutes. She's here.
Is secure. Congrats.
thank you.
And as a result of that, it didn't feel like my district is efficient.
I feel like I'm starting on my day with Campbell's.
Yeah.
It's not a good deal.
Is that every day, 6? What is that?
It's a great day.
It's a long day. So much.
Either.
They
Come on, man, drop what I see your face on my
Is that what you said? Here, not yet.
My glasses.
Not yet.
Okay, you send me the list.
Still gonna need.
Oh, not yet. Yeah, that's you know. I think that's where I'm kind of.
Personal things.
Is it city? If we have the word for.
Oh.
I would say obesity, like.
Yeah.
Bit
of a version.
Gotta go, Bob.
DCF is just. No, we're not okay. I'm not. Legislature has.
Can you hear me now? Does it matter? You can hear me?
My name's Zach.
Okay, so there's just 3 of us. So I'm gonna call the meeting to order, if you have to do this. And let's stand up for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So now, Ryan Britton, he's the Vice President of Government Relations here at FAU, to bring greetings. Thank you for opening up your beautiful campus and having us.
It's my pleasure. Very good to see you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the delegation. My name is Ryan Britton. I'm the VP for Government Relations and Economic Development here at Florida Atlantic. I'm also FAU's main hype man, so I'm here to bring good tidings and greetings on behalf of President Adam Hasner and our Board of Trustees. And I'm just going to focus on a couple of really great accolades that we've received over the last little while and some record-breaking achievements that we've had and let you get on with your business. But first and foremost, I want to thank you all for the support of the delegation up in Tallahassee and beyond. We have received lots of good support from this delegation that's provided us with resources that we are deploying here in the local community and beyond. Most recently with our seawall project down the street in Dania Beach. And so fingers crossed that that gets over the finish line as well. But there's a lot good happening in Tallahassee, hopefully in relation to the budget that I know we're all waiting with bated breath to see how it ends. But with that said, things are great at the university regardless. And let me just tell you a couple of quick, really interesting things. So one, we just finished graduation season. We celebrated the largest graduating class in the university's history, 4,400 students just this spring alone. Again, the largest graduating class. And there's a couple of other really good things that leads into. The largest potential incoming class we're looking at this fall. We received 59,000 applications for this fall's incoming class, for a class that we look to see about 4,500 students. That is a significant amount of interest in this university. That is a significant amount of interest from both in-state and out-of-state students. But what more interest does allows you to take a better quality of student. And so we're also looking at likely the most academically competitive class in the university's history. And we're really excited about that as well. And then that leads into a couple of other really nice recognitions that I want to mention. As you've all likely heard before, we're a top 100 public research university. We're really excited about that. But we're one of only 13 universities in the entire country that have 3 important designations. We're an R1 research university, which is the highest level of research. Less than 5% of universities in the country have that designation. We are also considered an opportunity university, which means we provide more access and higher earnings upon graduation. That's an important designation as well. Only about 500 universities in the country receive the opportunity designation. And then we're also a community engaged institution. And obviously, as we sit here with members of the community and our delegation, it speaks to how much we are externally facing and wanting to serve the community. But with all 3 of those designations, we are one of only 13 universities in the entire country, and there are thousands of universities in the country that we're one of only 13 that have all 3. So it really speaks to the uniqueness that Florida Atlantic brings, how much we are dedicated to serving this community, and how much we are dedicated to serving the entirety of our community. As you may or may not know, 40% of our students are low socioeconomic Pell eligible, and 25% of our students are first in their families to go to college. And so again, we're providing access to an amazing high quality education to the entirety of our community and beyond, serving the entire state and nation. So we're really excited to do that. We really appreciate the support that you provide us to help bring the resources to allow us to do this work. And with that, I'll say good luck to all of you as you look to finish out the session, and happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
So I guess this is going to be a little informal because there are only 3 members of the legislation, a lot more of you. So we really want this to be an opportunity for you to ask us pointed questions and for us to have a conversation and not us speaking. So I'm going to go ahead and start to my right and let Representative Cassell introduce herself.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Hillary Cassell. I have the honor of representing District 101 here in Broward County, 5 cities, Fort Lauderdale, Dania Beach, Hollywood, Hallandale, and portions of Davie. And it's an honor to be here.
And to my left.
Thank you, Ms. Spalding. I'm Dr. Rosalind Osgood. I represent Senate District 32. That's Lauderdale, parts of Lauderdale, Lauderhill, Lauderdale Lakes, Oakland Park, North Lauderdale, Tamarack, Sunrise, Plantation.
And again, I'm Robin Bartleman. I represent District 103, which is Weston, Southwest Ranches, west of 75, Pembroke Pines, west of 136th Avenue, Miramar, west of 75, and again, Sunrise behind Bagel Mania. Seems to be the only way to describe that random precinct. Okay, so we're really happy to be here. I'm gonna give each of my colleagues an opportunity to go over what maybe one of their priority bills. And just so you have an update, we are still in special session. We started the budget session about $1 billion apart. They are currently working on that. We've heard rumors that it's going well. We've heard rumors that it's blown up. We're supposed to go back to Tallahassee on Tuesday to finalize it, to pass it, and then sit it on the table for 72 hours and then vote on it. This year, we had just over 2,000 bills that were filed, and only 237 of them passed. So that's important for you to know. That's why I want to hear what topics are important to you that you want us to touch on. And we did have a special session involving congressional redistricting. And so we can also discuss that a little bit. There was a lot of debate, and I believe all three of us actually voted against the redistricting and the maps. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Representative Cassell to highlight one of your bills.
So just to give you a lay of the land, in the House, we are only able to file 7 bills versus the Senate. They really have an unlimited number. So from the get-go, we're really limited in the work that we can do. But I think probably I usually focus on insurance-related matters, mental health-related matters. Those are usually my two topics that you're going to see me work on every single legislative session as a theme. And this legislative session was really no different for me. I was really proud, even though it's not going to make it into law. I really do believe we are on the cusp of some issues that pertains to AI, and specifically as it pertains to the insurance space. We know, and this is a bill that I filed for the last 2 years, it did pass the House unanimously. But it really put some guardrails in for insurance companies when it came to handling claims on behalf of consumers, that if they are denying claims or underpaying claims, that they have to keep a human in the loop, that we want AI to be used. We want Florida to be a state that is open to the technology, but we know that we got to put some guardrails up for consumers. So it's a bill that when I return in November, I absolutely will refile again and hopefully look to expand it. But a bill that passed this legislative session that's been signed by the governor for me is a bill just pertaining to schools and access to building smaller schools. We know that kids with disabilities, students who need smaller classrooms, it's a difficult place to navigate when you're dealing with local government to be able to open up those places in mixed use facilities like commercial use space. So we passed a bill with bipartisan support that if you're going to have a school with a micro school with 150 students or less, that it can be considered a mixed use space. And you can work with your local government to deal with traffic and safety issues of that nature. But those types of schools will have a little bit easier opportunity to open. So it's a bill that I'm really proud of.
Thank you. Dr. Osgood.
Thank you, and thank you, Representative Cassell. I want you to hang on to what she said about working in a bipartisan way. Some things do go that way in Tallahassee. For me, what was very critical this legislative session is to work with a bipartisan team to make sure that we were able to secure the $30 million that was needed as the gap funding for the ADAP program. That's the AIDS Drug Assisted Treatment Program. So that item was passed and signed by the governor, and we're working to see how we can better sustain that program. If people with HIV don't have their medicine, or don't get the supplement from the government, they can't afford it. One bill that I will file every year that goes nowhere is the treatment of inmates. In the state of Florida, we have a lot of inmates in custody that we're responsible for. And I believe that they should have some basic rights. So myself, along with Representative Diane Hart, continues to file this bill around inmate rights. If we're going to take people in custody, their basic rights must be something that we're willing to put in legislation and abide by. I'll talk real quickly about 2 more things that I've been able to work on. There's a lot that happens in Tallahassee behind the scenes. It's more than just sitting on the floor voting on legislation. Right now, there is $30 million in the budget on both sides to rebuild the detention center that's located at 595 and Broward Boulevard that we discussed about since we was on the school board.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's a very deployable place that houses our children, and we're working on that. And finally, something I've worked on for 4 years, just in beating the pavement, and I'm happy to finally see some progress, is maternal health and doula services. So today I was at Broward Health with Secretary Harris, the Secretary of ACA, and we talked about a program called From the Start that will be released on June 1st. And what this program does is it aligns all of the 8 managed care providers where they will give incentives to moms that report their notification of pregnancy, like give them $25. We know that's very helpful with gas these days. They'll all provide unlimited doula services, so moms can have doulas before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and after pregnancy. Successful maternal care is not just in the moment that you're actually giving birth to the child. There's a lot that happens before, postpartum depression that happens after. The program will also provide for remote patient monitoring. Pregnant moms sometimes have barriers catching buses into places for care. So now we've put a lot of money into telehealth. They'll be able to use that. There's also incentives where they can get help through Uber and Lyft to eliminate transportation barriers with making sure they consistently show up for the doctor's appointments, especially the one immediately after having the baby, because that's the one that connects them to primary care and the services they need for the next year. And the final part of this From the Start initiative is to help the women to maintain their Medicaid. Sometimes they become ineligible because when it's time to reapply, they miss the date or they miss the paperwork. So I'm very excited about those things that are taking place right now.
Thank you. I would be remiss if I did not ask, are you vice mayor now, Denise, or
No.
just commissioner? It changes. Commissioner Denise Horland from the city of Plantation, can you stand up so we can recognize you? Amazing advocate, very active in the League of Cities of Tallahassee, fight against the property tax bills. So we really appreciate that. Well, Lewis is here as an attorney, but he is also a plantation commissioner. Lewis Feinstein, please stand up, Commissioner of Plantation. We work hard, but I think it's harder to work for us. Okay.
Rep Bartleman, we also have Mayor of West Park.
Oh, I can't see where. Hello, how did I miss you? And we would have had you too. And Mayor Felicia Brunson from the city of West Park. So we're very happy to have all of you here. I really appreciate that.
Local officials.
I know, that's true. All right, so I'll go into the bills that are my I do want to point out that I was on Ways and Means, so I have debated every single property tax bill that was brought forward inside and out. I also filed a very important amendment because after a study was done, 116 cities would not be able to sustain their public safety. Those include cities I represent like Weston, Pembroke Pines, Davie. They couldn't even have level funding, but I'm going to see if you want to talk about that later in forms of a question. But we can definitely go into that because there are rumors that there will be a special session in July for property taxes. And so you're going to see a lot of the elected officials coming out and discussing what your property taxes pay for, why they're important. I want to point out something really quick just on this one topic. The argument against property taxes is that you never own your house. I'm going to argue with you that your property taxes pay for the services so you can live a healthy, safe life. I was in the city of Weston yesterday, and we recognized over 20 firefighters and paramedics from across the area who handled a major accident involving the jaws of life. They were all recognized for their heroic efforts. And but I went on to talk about property taxes, and that's what a portion of your property taxes paid for. That when you're in your house and you're scared and you need to dial 911, or God forbid you have a fire, or you need an ambulance, or make sure the criminals are housed in jails,
or you need your garbage picked up, or you need the South Florida Water Management District to drain the canals into the C11 so that it could go into the Everglades so your house isn't underwater, that's what you're paying for. You're paying to protect the most important, investment you've made. So I'll get into that later if someone has questions. In terms of my bills, I'm happy to say that I passed 2 additional bills this session. So I'm up to 17. So when we talk about working in a bipartisan manner, I have been able to reach across the aisle to get a lot of my priorities passed. One of them involved a human trafficking bill that I filed with Senator Harrell on the other side to change the training so that nurses can get trained on day 1 when they walk into the ER to identify a human trafficking victim. We are number 3 in the nation in terms of human trafficking. Miami is the epicenter. The reason this bill came forward was because Dr. Santos at UM informed me that he had shifts where no one is trained. Human trafficking victims are in the shadows. You'll never see them until they're hurt. And the predator and the pimp wants to protect their investment, so they take them to the ER. And that's where you need a nurse to be able to identify them and link them to resources. That's been signed on by the officers, is on the governor's desk. And the second bill has to do with giving parents the parental right to get a second opinion when they're charged with child abuse. It's a very tight second opinion. There are 5 diseases: vitamin D deficiency, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, Rickett's, brittle bone disease. Usually it happens, you bring your infant to the ER because they keep showing bruising or pain, and you end up, the stories we've heard, their infants were taken away. And some of those parents went up to 18 months without being with their infant. The most egregious case was a parent who had to pay $300,000 in legal fees to get a second opinion, and the whole time the child had brittle bone disease. But she now has to reconnect with the infant she lost 18 months later. So it's a very simple bill. Senator Sharif has been championing it for 2 years. We've been working on it 2 years. I need to give her credit because she is amazing. She's also a nurse practitioner, so she provided a lot of the medical information we needed. So now I want this to be a discussion.
Yeah.
If we could, just for a point of personal privilege, I know that we have staff here representing some members that are not here. Can you stand and introduce yourself and which office you represent, please? Thank you, Ms. Hall.
Hello, my name is Taylor Mercy, legislative aide for Senator.
We didn't hear you.
Oh.
We're gonna give you the mic. Oh.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor Mercy. Legislative aide for Senator Pizzo.
Hi, everyone. Casey Orland, legislative aide for Representative Dan Daly.
I'm Stella, and I'm the legislative aide for Representative Hillary Cassell. Up here, Alyssa, let's go.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm the legislative aide for Representative Robin Bartleman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Darian. I'm the district aide for Representative Bartleman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Siegel, the legislative aide for Representative Michael Gottlieb.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joey Hippolyte, legislative aide for Rep. Mitch Rosenwald.
Okay, so let's go ahead and we have anyone else here? All right, let's go ahead and open it up now for questions and topics you would like. There are 237 bills that passed. We're not going to go through them all. We want to hear what's important. You drove all the way here. Let's hear from you, and we can answer some questions and have some dialogue. Wants to go first? Okay.
Wow, hello. My name is Marilyn Mamano. I live in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm the past president of the of the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations. I'm also the legislative representative for the Broward Planners up in Tallahassee. We have a very a nonpartisan but very vigorous lobbying program in Tallahassee. And when I come to these meetings, I usually just sit in the back and I listen, because there's so many social service and very important personal things that I never get up and speak. But since we're being so informal, lucky me. I came here tonight to continue the dialogue that I've had with some of you regarding the Live Local Act. And Live Local was passed 3 years ago and amended almost every year. And the intention was to support affordable housing. All very, a good idea. And the problem is that the legislation, the way it was written, has several flaws in it. And I would like to bring those flaws to your attention. The very first flaw is that it preempts local control and it's administrative approval. But I'm willing to accept that as a planner and as a resident of my community because I understand the reason why that was done because of potential opposition to affordable housing. So let's put that aside for the moment. But I'm very concerned that the program does not address the need for the target program that we really need. The target program that Live Local addresses is at 120% of the median income, okay? Now, that might work upstate where the median income is low, so 120%, you get a representative group of people who need help. But in Broward County, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, our median income is very high, simply because we have a large number of very rich people here. So the income is skewed high. So when you go to 120% of the median income in Broward, you're looking at over $120,000. That is the target audience for this bill. And God bless people who make $120,000. They don't need the type of help that we envisioned when we thought about Live Local. So I brought this to your attention for several years now, and I also want to bring to your attention the fact that the Florida Housing Corporation sets the rents for these affordable units, okay? And I sent you some information about the 2026 rates. The amount of money that can be charged for these units is higher than you can get an apartment in Pompano Beach today. So who are we helping here? Not only are we allowing developers to build these monster buildings, which is a whole nother issue, urban planning issue, but we're giving them the ability to rent them to these people who are making really a reasonable income, and we're giving them tax abatement. So we are actually subsidizing development of units that are more expensive than the current market rate units. Clearly something fell out of place here and it needs to be addressed. So I'm not going to go on. I've given you the information, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
No. Actually, there was a bill filed that addressed all the issues you're speaking of. It was CS for HB 675. I don't know if you had an opportunity.
We followed that bill.
Yes, so it was filed by Tracy Davis, and it was filed by Prince Driscoll, Representative Driscoll, and it did lower the AMI to 100%. It did get rid of the dock stamp taxes for first-time home buyers. So it did try to address the issues. It did get one hearing where it was turned into a committee bill. And we are going to run that bill again. That's part of my caucus's affordability plan. And so we can incorporate some of the other pieces you're speaking to. And it also did not allow developers to, they can only use the incentives for affordable housing because there's a way they can work around things. So it closed that loophole. So we will work on it next session. I would like you to, if you could go through the bill, and I'm sure Christine Hunchowski will be, as our leader, will be filing that bill. You can go through that bill and see where other adjustments need to be made. The bill was written because of concerns that you have.
And I appreciate you working on it, and I'm always available to give you input from a planner's perspective on that, definitely.
And Dr. Osgood.
And I want to comment from the Senate side because Senator Colaudio, who filed the bill on the Senate side, the initial bill, I was the co-sponsor. We were chair and co-chair of the Community Affairs Committee. And this bill was very important to the Senate president at that time, which was Kathleen Passidomo. So when we filed legislation in Tallahassee, we know that it's not perfect. So we have options to continue to amend, and individuals like you that have valuable input, you help us be better and improve on that legislation. And on the Senate side, there is an appetite, in the same way, although there are some provisions that we think is rolling back some of the parts of what we want to do. So we might not always agree with the House, but having affordable housing as well as continuing development in Broward County is critical to the county and all of our economic viability as we continue to struggle to address housing. We have a lot of housing needs, but we don't have a lot of land to meet those needs.
Understood, and very happy to work with you on all of those points. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Is there someone else who has a question or comment or wants to discuss a bill that they are concerned about? Guys are kidding me? That's it?
I might make it to football practice. That's it.
I want to add this comment so I can go on record. Representative Balderman talked about property taxes and the committees that she was on. There has not been one committee in the Florida Senate around property tax. So I was having conversations this week on the Senate side and was kind of told when we come back to do the budget, property tax is going to be tacked on. I'm hoping that that's not the way we roll this out. I definitely think it's a conversation worth having. I have a lot of faith in my colleagues in the Senate and my colleagues in the House that we can come together and do something that is workable. I do think that we have to address the needs of our senior citizens who are in some cases are losing their homes because of the property taxes. I'm talking about native Floridians that have been paying homestead for year after year after year. But I don't think that we can put out a ballot amendment to just do a sweep on property taxes without doing the due diligence and working hand in hand with our local governments as to how. I polled all my cities and all of them use their property taxes different. But there is a set of elderly people. We also have a new phenomenon where we have some organizations and some developers that are not Floridians that have bought land and property like 10 and 20 homes in Broward County. So I personally would like to see them pay more taxes because they don't live here. So I do think that it is a discussion worth having. I don't want us to just be closed to it because we gotta look for ways to make things more affordable for our seniors that have retired here, that have did their fair share of tax paying and are just being cost out of their home.
We're all gonna make a comment on property taxes and we'll close up. I'm gonna let Representative Cassell comment on property taxes.
It's gonna be short because I'm the only member of the delegation that still has a minor child, and when you dedicate, 60 days plus committee weeks, and then you get called back for special session after special session, you have a little one who's like, Mom, why are you not at football? So, at the end of the day, I'm very thankful to the House of Representatives for the work that we have taken on property taxes. We have undergone an extensively long conversation in the House about what potential reforms could look like. The reality is people need relief. People are hurting. We have this system that forces people to stay in homes that are unable to move because the cost to move is too high. So there's got to be something that we can do. And the House has been diligent on trying to uncover what that is. I know that I personally met with every single one of my cities extensively at length to discuss how they operate and the impact a loss of property taxes would look like. I also met with cities that I don't represent because I serve on the property tax committee, and they wanted to make sure that there was somebody from Broward that heard their concerns. But I think the House has done its due diligence to try to come up with proposals, because similar to what we see with Live Local, right? We put something into place in a bipartisan manner
And you see some unintended consequences when you pick a number that maybe works for some counties and doesn't work for some. The 120 works for Northern Florida, but doesn't work for us. We know that that's the same conversation around the property taxes. So it is something that we have really dived into in the House. I was hoping the Senate would do the same. We haven't seen that from them. So we're all going to be kind of learning as we go, but at least I feel as a member of the House, and listen, Senator Osgood has done her due diligence. She is not waiting for the Senate to put something on paper for her. So I'm not speaking in those terms, but I know as a House, I know going into any session or special session that we might have on property taxes, I feel very well informed to make the best possible decision that we can make for all Floridians across the state. Because people do need relief, and I think it's important that we look at what those options could look like.
Thank you.
Want to go to football? I want to go to
Football. Okay, I'm gonna,
I did.
okay, so you.
Thank you all for being
Go
here.
ahead. I'll go ahead and give you my take on the property taxes if you want. If you want to go.
No, I'm not gonna leave early. This is important.
Okay, so.
We're gonna have 7 o'clock.
So here we go. My take on the property taxes. I'm glad we went through the 8 bills because we were unable to uncover a lot of problems with the plan. First of all, it'll be the first time in history that we're putting something on the ballot without an implementing bill. So when we asked the sponsors of the bills during committee, how are you going to make up for the lost revenue? We heard different things. We heard about, well, there could be fees, there could be a sales tax, but they didn't commit. They said, well, the voters will just vote on it in November and then we'll decide the next legislative session what that means. Well, I can tell you if the proposal we passed on the House floor and party lines went through, Parkland would have lost 75% of its budget. Weston would have lost 53% of its budget. Southwest Ranches, 63% of its budget. Imagine someone taking that amount. This is not about, nickel and diming cities. That is a substantial portion of the budget. And the biggest piece that no one talks about is your property taxes pay for some very important services. Children's Services Council. Someone spoke about how we talk about the kids and all the social services. We as a community voted for the Children's Services Council. I was just on with a reporter for USA Today talking about Children's Services Council today. They're going to lose approximately $50 million. The hospital districts, those are boards appointed by the governor. They have rolled back their millage rate every year. They will lose 34.9% of their budgets. Those are our safety net hospitals. And the most important thing for Broward County is South Florida Water Management District. They are in charge of your water quality, the Everglades, inland and coastal flooding. Go on their website. They are a very important player. They are appointed by the governor. They are not going to have another avenue to generate revenue. And then we just got a real scary letter from the cities that have mosquito control districts. So we'll be inundated with mosquitoes, just another small problem. So you can't sell, voters want relief. And I think after the discussions, we should come up with something that's common sense for everybody. But the number one call I get in my office is property insurance. It's not taxes. It's not property taxes. So we have to come up with something that doesn't bankrupt our cities, but provides something to help people. And I do agree with that. But the rumors are it's going to be like a $250,000 exemption, a $500,000 exemption. The average home price in Broward County is $484,000. I met with all the rural districts. You're going to wipe out all those rural cities. Even if you do a phase-in by year 2 or 3, they are gone. Your police and fire, just like all of our costs have gone up, the cost of a fire engine has gone up 400%. So with police and fire, where they're trying to recruit officers and get them in and have competitive salaries, the way the bill is written, it creates a floor and a ceiling because they have to maintain level funding after the voters vote on it. You can guarantee if you lose 53% or 75% of your budget, the funding is just going to stay right there and it's going to stay flat. So that's what's important to people. That's what matters. Their roads, their libraries, juvenile detention center, the prisons, 911 operators are not included in public safety because they do not meet the statutory definition. So at least in the House, and I applaud my speaker for this, we were able to flush out all the problems.
But if they don't take into account all of these other pieces, you're gonna be sold a bill of goods and you're gonna regret it. And the only way we're ever going to be able to change it is to ask you all to tax yourselves 2 years from now. So it is getting national attention. Pay attention to what it does to all the children's services, pay attention to what it's gonna do for the South Florida Water Management District. Because without an additional revenue source to replace lost funds, you're just gonna lose services. And I think we live in Broward County for a reason. And so pay attention, your cities are educating you. We passed a bill that requires them to go through like a 4-hour meeting and an exercise to get rid of 10% of their budget. So that will be happening. But we have to do something that works for everyone. Because just because, I'm not paying you with my front pocket, if you're gonna charge me a whole bunch of fees out of my back pocket, that doesn't help me at the kitchen table, doesn't help me at the gas line, doesn't help me at the grocery line. You're not helping me. So it has to be real, it has to be meaningful, and they can't come back and say, guess what? You're just gonna pay for fees now for everything. So pay attention, be vigilant, be educated. I'm talking to an educated room. We have a mayor and a commissioner here. You all know what this means for your cities. So we have to go out and educate people. So we're gonna wrap it up because I do want Hillary to go to her son's football game. And we appreciate you all for coming today. Thank you.
See you guys.
Well,